Susha's rug! Wow! Congrats to... Stitch is dying in the other room. She's cracking up. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. What's up, guys? It's Kictor. Congrats on your word game solving skills there. Oh, for anybody following along the saga of our rug. Well, the rug is now like a body rolled up in the garage. We could not save it. Yes. So we have our lovely little Shibas, right? Accidents happen. And then yesterday we rented an industrial vacuum to try and remedy the situation. We bought 2 bottles of urine destroyer to remedy the situation. And I think the industrial vacuum just made it worse. I think it just put pee everywhere. So we rolled up the carpet in shame. It's a big, really nice carpet. And threw it in the garage. And then I was like, it's okay. We'll just order a new one. And then I did not remember how expensive the fucking rug was. So then we contemplated just not having a rug. But I like to go on my knees and play with the dogs and stuff, you know, and the rug was just so nice and it fit our color scheme so perfectly, you know, but then there's the whole issue of like, well, what if it happens again? So we came up with a solution, but the solution was very expensive. But it's okay. But it's okay. Guy says, same, my rug is out. Yes, we experienced loss in Modazushi, and we experienced loss with our rug. It's like I know it is, it's crazy how expensive rugs are. It's crazy. And like, you can get cheap ones, but they're just thin, and they're not like good quality. Oh my god, so many people in the chat that understand the pain of a rug. Make a rug yourself. Actually, I love seeing videos of people that use like the like carpet gun or whatever and like make like custom rugs, like little ones. That's so cool. Traveler Lizzie, what's up? Hey gang, I'm eating dinner while doing some engineering work. Doing great, by the way, and sobbing over failing my driver's test for the 2nd time. Yippee! 3rd time's the charm, trust. Oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry to hear that. Today I literally drove past like the driving test area and was like, oh my god, thank god I never have to do that again. Until I'm like 80 and they think I'm blind. I'm so sorry to hear that, dude, but I'm glad that you have the attitude of like, yeah, you're just gonna take it again. That's great. That's great. 3rd time is the charm. 3rd time is the charm. What happened this time? Was it the same bullshit? What else have you guys been up to? Has anyone read any of Beauty's Blade? I read the first couple pages, not chapters. I'm not as fast as Stitch. I read the first couple pages. And it's a lot different than I was expecting. Anyone else have any thoughts they care to share? Uh-oh, Lizzie says, it was bullshit, people on the highway not following the basic fucking road rules. Uh-oh, oh, that sucks, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. Tina says, I started Beauty's Blade and I don't like the main character. Oh, interesting. What don't you like about her? I don't know her yet. Rose City says, I'm going in blind on Beauty's Blade. Yes, me too, me too. Oh, Wizard of Moss had a nosebleed. Ow. That sucks. Tina says she just seems cruel. Okay, okay. Orion's Belt said they had Thrice Married to Fish, but not Beauty's Blade. How could they? How could they? Oh, Esper Lady says, I was expecting Beauty's Blade to be a slow burn, but it was really not. Oh, okay, okay. I mean, it is only one volume, so I guess they gotta get shit going. Oh, Leo, glad to hear that you can sleep at home tonight. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I hope that everything can get better soon, Leo. We're thinking about you. Fox the Ember says, I have just been drawing and trying to fight off a cold today. I posted what I finished in the community since it was TGCF related. Oh, that's sick! Oh my god, I love the community. I love seeing everybody's art on the community. I definitely want to see that. That's wicked. Today, what did Stitch and I do? Today, Stitch and I went, we went to our favorite coffee shop and we picked up some espresso beans and we just had espresso. And then we did like our giant thrifting round. There's like 4 thrift shops. 1, 2, 3. There's like, yeah, 4 thrift shops all beside each other. And we always look for costume stuff there. We're going to a party this weekend that is called Grandpa's Gone Fishing Party. So Stitch is going to dress up like the park ranger, asking people for like their fishing licenses, which I thought is hilarious. And I'm gonna be like total grandpa. Like, I am the guilty grandpa fishing without a license. Sugar Kiss says, do you have a YouTube anniversary? Oh, that's a good question. I wonder when was my first video uploaded? Let me see. My oldest video is the Viktor Nikiforov Yuri on Ice cosplay CMV. And I uploaded it 7 years ago on December 26th, Boxing Day! On December 2017. Wow. 2017, but when did I start posting like TGCF stuff, like trying to actually become a YouTuber? I feel like my Ice Adolescence video was like the first one where I was like, I want to be, or no, yeah, let's see, when was that one? That one was November 26th. Wow, the 26th is an important date. November 26th, 2020. So, yeah, I think I started taking YouTube seriously in 2020. That makes sense. And then my first TGCF video was the Have an Official's Blessing piano cover. And that was December 30th, 2020. Yeah, so the very end of 2020, I guess, is like my anniversary. An anniversary stream. I mean, if we're not doing anything Boxing Day, I could do a stream on that day. That's crazy. Celebrate every month on the 26th. Yeah! What is November 26th this year? Oh my god. Oh. That's actually crazy. Oh my god. Lacia12 says, hi, Kictor. I probably won't be too active in the chat, but I'm watching on TV while I play lads on my phone. Nice! How are your lads doing? Although I watch a shit ton of your content, and I should be more active in these chats. Aw, hey, that's so nice of you just to let me know you're watching. I appreciate it. Even if you don't tune into the chat, just that's so much fun knowing that you're watching, and I hope you enjoy. And if you want to tell me about your lads, boys, feel free. I'm slowly gaining awareness more and more of who is who. Guy the Pirate Witch says, your first video is the one that you wanted to be known as the lesbian that talks about gays. Yes. Oh my god, you guys. I don't know if you saw my Instagram story, but we were at Value Village today and looking at the books, and they had the otaku encyclopedia, and it just had like a bunch of terms that are like anime terms, and oh my god, it was pretty well written. It was quite good. But they had like yaoi and BL in there, and so Stitch and I had a good time. Good time flipping through that today. Leo says, I got a CT scan today, and thankfully my brain looks all normal. Little do the doctors know, it's secretly full of yaoi. That's what all those squiggles on your brain are, actually. It's the grasp that yaoi has on you. CSCL, thank you for your donation. Recap. Wen Ning and Wen Qing surrender to the Jins and are executed. Wei Wuxian crashes. Let's kill the Wei Wuxian party at Nightless City. Yanli saves Wei Wuxian, but dies. Broken heart emoji. Cue rampage. End flashback. Yeah, okay, let's talk about that. I feel like yesterday, the whiplash I got from it cutting to the future timeline, like, made me feel sick. I was like, Yanli just died, and now we just have to cut back to, like, this scene, and, like, I know it's good. I know it's good, but I was just like, oh, fuck, it just made me feel so awful, you know? Like, it was so sad. And, like, the fact that she was there and was like, I saw that you came to, like, the Jin clan, and I wanted to tell you, like, I wanted to look at you and tell you, like, I'm sure, like, it's okay, or I know you didn't mean to, or something, you know? Ugh. And then, like, we even had the scene, like, not too long ago that was of Zheng Cheng and Yanli, like, sneaking Wei Wuxian away so that they could show him her wedding dress and stuff. Like, ah, fuck, man. I do love that Wei Wuxian just, like, went berserk after that, though. I love that. There was one line that was really good. It was like, oh, help me out if you know it. It was like being full of, like, it was like fury was the only thing that could, like, put down all his other emotions. You know, it's like if he felt angry and crazy, then at least he didn't have to feel sad because it was too much. And I'm like, oh man, that goes to show how hurt he was by how crazy it was. I know, and like Yanli and Lan Wangji could have just been such good, like, moms together, you know? With Ayuan and Jinling, like, oh my god. That's why I love fics where, like, everybody's alive. Oh no, Amy, I'm sorry to hear your mom didn't want to keep up with Morazushi. At least she tried it, though. Esper Lady says, they would have been so good together, right? I know, I love it. I love, like, imagine Yanli with, like, Jinling on her knee, and then, like, Lan Wangji with Ayuan on his knee, and they're just, like, chatting about plants or some shit. And then Lan Zhichen's there with Ayao on his knee. Oh my god. Ugh. That's good. See, if I could draw quickly, that's what I would draw. That will be my next Gartic phone prompt. Oh, Amy, wow. She got that far? Oh, you should tell her to keep reading then. Ayuan and Jinling could have been cousins and besties growing up. Yeah, right? Like, oh, it's so cute. So cute. I think it's rare to find, like, friends, let alone family members, like, in real life that'll actually read your recommendations. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to find, you know, like, if someone recommends you even, like, a movie, to actually watch it. Like, I think Stitch and I are pretty good at that. We have, like, a list, and, like, if our friends that we know, we have similar taste, they recommend a movie to us, like, we'll actually go and watch it. But it's so, like, upsetting, especially when you have, like, a long-standing friend group, but maybe your interests aren't the same, and you just want to talk about something with someone, you're like, watch this, like, I'm sure you'll like it, and then they don't watch it. Like, I get it. Like, I'll put it on my to be watched. It's like, you're not gonna watch it. And did anybody see that the Super Mario Galaxy trailer came out? I'm very excited about that. I love Mario. It's B Honey says, trying to get all my friends into BTS. Yeah, like trying to get anyone into anything, right? Right! Yes, Horror Girl! Yes, Esper Lady! Right? Oh my god. So excited. The intro with Bowser was so funny. Yeah, they're making a movie, a Super Mario Galaxy movie. Amy says, luckily my mom's tastes are similar, so we recommend stuff to each other a lot. That's awesome. That is so wicked. Yeah, because you know they made the Mario movie like a couple years ago? It's like the same thing, but now they're going to space! The Wizard of Moss says, I had a friend get into K-pop randomly after years of trying, and they gave me $15 as an apology. That's hilarious. Yeah, I really liked the Mario movie. Like, I really, really liked it. I feel like it can never be perfect, you know, because Hollywood's always going to put its hands all over everything and have to change stuff and whatever, but I really liked it, you know? You just have to make peace. Like when anything gets an adaptation, you know? Yeah, it's Be Honey. It's the worst one, especially if someone ever teased you about something or made fun of you for liking something and then they get into it later, especially if it came like more mainstream later to get into, you know? Yeah, I'm excited to see Rosalina as well. The Bob Hoskins Mario movie from back in the day. Yes, that movie is so cursed. Finally getting someone to watch One Piece, right? Oh my god, guys, wait, listen. Okay, do you know my plight? Do you know my plight of the Jujutsu Kaisen cat plushies with the blind boxes? How I've gotten 2 Tojis, I've gotten 2 Nanamis, I've gotten Shoko, and I finally got a Ghetto. I found somebody to trade me a Gojo for a Toji. He will be mine this Sunday! Yes. And all will be right in the universe. My evil plan is coming to fruition, yes. Finally. Finally, all will be right. Okay. Give me 1 second. I will be right back, and then we will jump into some reading, okay? I'll be right back. Where are we? There we go. Okay, shall we continue? So, Yanli died, no one cared, and we're now in the future. Just kidding, everyone cared. Wei Wuxian cared a lot. I see lots of crabs in the chat, lots of carbs in the chat, and what is that? Is that is that a potato? Is a potato a carb? I don't think so. Is it? Listen, I don't know how carbs work. Okay, so we are back at the cave. I'm gonna start this chapter over again, okay? So basically in the past, Wei Wuxian went berserk after Yanli died, used the Yin Tiger Tally, and we're being told what happened and in the future. And Wei Wuxian's like, that sounds a little bit sensational, doesn't it? That sounds a little bit not true, because I didn't kill any of the sect leaders, and how could I have possibly killed everybody? So, Chapter 19, Core of the True-Hearted. Part 1. The Nightless City Massacre. That was what they called the bloody battle on the night of the Pledge Rally. Legend said that the Yiling Patriarch Wei Wuxian single-handedly slaughtered all 3,000 cultivators present. Some said there were over 5,000, but whether 3,000 or 5,000, one thing was certain. That night, Wei Wuxian transformed the ruins of Nightless City into hell on earth. And though he was the target of every cultivator present, the murderer was able to retreat to the barrier mounds completely unscathed. No one knew how he had done it. Every clan suffered heavy casualties in the battle. The 4 major clans took 3 months to rally their strength and solidify their plans before they launched a successful siege of the demon's lair, of the burial mounds. And thus they repaid the slaughter in kind to the evil Wen survivors and the mad Yiling Patriarch. So this is all like other people's thoughts on what happened, right? Wei Wuxian observed the cultivators swarming before the demon-quelling cave. So this is now like the present, what's actually happening, right? Like Lan Qiren shows up, everyone's like coming to find Wei Wuxian. He had seen nearly the same expressions on the night of the pledge rally when the attendees had poured out wine and vowed to reduce him and the Wen survivors to ashes. Some of the cultivators present today were those who'd been lucky enough to survive that night, and some were descendants of those who hadn't. Almost all of them, however, were warriors of justice, and they shared the same beliefs as those people back then. A blood debt of 3,000 souls. It won't be repaid even if you die 1,000,000 deaths, said the middle-aged cultivator named Yi Wei-chun, who had claimed that Wei Wuxian had injured his leg so badly he now had to wear a wooden prosthetic. Wei Wuxian cut him off. 3,000? There were around 3,000 cultivators present that night at Nightless City, but that includes the leaders and elites of every clan. Could I really have killed all 3,000 people with them around? Do you think too highly of me or too little of them? See, now he's being like, this sounds a little bit made up, doesn't it? He was only indifferently stating a fact, but the cultivator felt belittled and humiliated. What do you think we're discussing right now? He bit back furiously. Can a blood debt be haggled over? I'm not trying to haggle. I just don't want people to so casually exaggerate my past crimes. I don't want to carry the burden of things I didn't do. What you didn't do? What didn't you do? One cultivator rebuked. Well, I didn't tear Shifeng Jun to pieces, Wei Wuxian said. I didn't force Liang Fanzun's wife, Madame Jin, to commit suicide at Golden Carp Tower either. I also wasn't the one manipulating the animated corpses you met on the way up the mountain. Susha chuckled. Fuck Susha. Let's get some fuck Sushas in the chat. Yiling Patriarch, I've heard you were presumptuous, but I never expected you to be humble. Who, if not you, could control so many animated corpses and force us into this sorry situation? Is it that hard? Anyone could do it with the Yin Tiger Tally, Wei Wuxian said. Isn't the Yin Tiger Tally your spiritual weapon? Susha countered. I think that's a question for whoever is so obsessed with it, Wei Wuxian answered. It's just like Wen Ning. A certain prominent clan is clearly terrified of the Ghost General and calls for his demise, but they also kept him around in secret for over a dozen years. Weird. And who was it again that said he'd been reduced to ashes? Jin Clan. Jin Clan, man. Don't trust the Jin Clan. Everyone unconsciously looked at the Jin sect disciples. After all, the then leader of the Jin clan of Lanling had been wholly responsible for that affair. He had solemnly swore the two leaders of the Wen survivors had been burned to dust, and even taken the lead in scattering their ashes at Nightless City. There's no need for you to sow discord, Susha rebuked instantly. He's such a loser. Like, oh my god. At that moment, the trees began to rustle anew. Strange gurgling noises echoed from the depths of the forest. Be careful, everyone! A new wave of fierce corpses is approaching! Lan Shiren cautioned. He probably didn't sound like that, but... Do you guys picture Lan Shiren sexy? Or is he like an old man in your mind's eye? Because official art of him, he's looking pretty hot. At his words, half of the crowd turned to face the oncoming horde. The other half remained on guard, keeping their swords pointed at the rabble in front of the demon-quelling cave. I already told you, Wei Wuxian reiterated. Those fierce corpses aren't under my control. If you've got time to look at me, why not pay attention to them instead? There were quite a few accomplished cultivators present, including several clan leaders and elders. A mob of fierce corpses presented no threat. Sword glares and Guchin notes shot forth alike, and most people were too preoccupied to care what was happening at the cave entrance. Cup Noodle Cat knows the truth. Cup Noodle Cat says he's a land boy. He is 100% pretty. Right? Right? Zheng Cheng reduced 3 fierce corpses to dust with a single lash of his whip. He turned to Jinling and snapped, Jinling, are you looking to have your legs broken? Classic. He meant that if Jinling didn't come over that instant, he'd break his legs when they got home. But Jinling had heard him make that threat so many times now, and not once has it ever been carried out. I love that. I love that that little line just, like, nips any sort of conjecture that Zheng Cheng abuses Jinling, you know? He's never laid a hand on him. Which, you know, might be surprising, considering Zheng Cheng was clearly, like, beaten as a child. Though he shot a glance at Zheng Cheng's way, he did not move. Zheng Cheng cursed and turned his wrist, aiming to ensnare Jinling with Zidian and bring him back by force. But unexpectedly, the purple light coursing through Zidian's body suddenly dimmed. Moments later, its current was completely extinguished. The long whip swiftly transformed back into a silver ring and slotted itself onto Jung Chung's index finger. We got it. We got it. The turtle is still wearing the ring. Cute. Very cute. It's B Honey says, it's so funny to go from Jung Chung losing his mind during the Yanli flashback immediately to threatening to break her son's legs in the future. You're right. He stood where he was, stunned and wordless, Zidian disengaging without being issued a direct command. This had never happened before. As he stared at his hand, 2 drops of blood suddenly hit the center of his palm. He raised his hand to wipe his face, and it came away smeared with red. Juju! Jinling cried out. One after another, cries of alarm arose from the others fighting the corpse horde. Most sword glares had gone dim. Nearly half of the cultivators present were visibly confused as blood freely flowed from their nostrils. Some were bleeding from the nose and mouth. One of the sword cultivators began to panic. What's going on? My spiritual powers are gone. Give me a hand, Shishong. Something's gone wrong over here. Bishen hurtled out of its sheath and cut down the 2 fierce corpses pursuing the cultivator who had cried for help. But the cries were only growing more numerous. As one fell, another would rise. The crowd was gradually gathering closer and closer together and retreating towards the demon-quelling cave. The cultivators who had hiked up the burial mounds in anticipation of a major battle had suddenly lost their spiritual powers. Not only had sword glares disappeared and talismans malfunctioned, but even the Lan clan of Gusu and the Su clan of Mo Ling's instruments had been reduced to producing ordinary music that lacked any demon-repelling effects. That's actually hilarious. The magic just being gone, but the music still coming out. It would be funny if, like, the music just suddenly turned bad, too. A dramatic turn of events. Lam Wangji took the guqin from his back, and the strum of its strings shook the heavens, but no matter how skillful or awe-inspiring his eradication tone might be, he was only one man. Wen Ning leapt from the demon-quelling cave to aid him in driving away the fierce corpses, suffering the assault of other cultivators in silence. Thankfully, he felt no pain. Amidst this utter confusion and chaos, Lan Sizhui suddenly rushed out from the cave, shouting to the crowd, "Everyone, come here! Come inside the demon-quelling cave! There's a huge array on the ground in here. It's missing some bits and pieces, but it should be usable once repaired. Then we can ward off the fierce corpses for a while." Some of the cultivators, their thoughts shaken and scattered by the carnage, moved to rush into the cave at once, but Susha quickly admonished them. "Do not go inside! That will only make us easy prey! There must be an even more dangerous trap waiting for us in there!" The crowd startled, regaining their senses at his admonishment, and grew indecisive. With a slash of his hand, Wei Wuxian hurled out over 60 fluttering talismans. "It's death outside, it's death inside. You die either way, but you might be able to buy a little time if you head on in. Why are you so eager for everyone to die together, huh?" Although what he'd just said made a lot of sense, even fewer people now dared to go inside. Oh, Tiercella, thank you so much for donating. That's so sweet of you. Thank you for sending the Bingcho kisses. Yes, every penny counts. Thank you so much, Tiercella. That's so sweet of you. Although what he'd just said made a lot of sense, even fewer people now dared to go inside, precisely because he was the one who'd said it. They'd continued to hesitate even as they struggled against the fierce corpses. The others could make do for a while without spiritual powers, but Ni Huaisang couldn't wait. It was common knowledge that he was cowardly and feared trouble. With little in the way of natural talent, his cultivation was lackluster, and he had no motivation to improve. This sudden turn of events had reduced him to a fluttered mess, and he remained unscathed only due to the efforts of his bodyguards. Seeing the corpses continue to gather, with no end in sight, he cried out to the crowd, "Are you guys going inside or not? If not, I'm gonna go in. So, sorry. Go, 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 everybody, hurry!" Does Ni Huaisang remind anyone of, like, Shang Qinghua, kind of? Before he even finished speaking, he decided to simply order the Ni clan of Qinghe's sect disciples to retreat into the demon-quelling cave. Truly, he was as anxious as a lost dog and panicked as a fugitive, and his display of frankness made everyone's jaws drop. Dad, stop fighting! Trust me, go inside! Ouyang Jishen urged. We just came out of the cave. There are no traps in there. The rest of the boys also started shouting. Yeah, there really is a huge array on the ground inside. Chujo, come inside! Jinling beckoned. Jung Chung lunged at the horde with Sandu, which had completely lost its glare. Shut up! He snapped at him ferociously. Shut up! Ah! As he yelled, more blood poured from his nose and mouth. Jinling rushed down the steps, seized him, and started dragging him towards the demon-quelling cave. Jung Chung's spiritual powers were completely gone by now, and he was physically drained from grappling with the enemy for half a day, so Jinling was able to haul him over just like that. Wow! Being pulled in by Jinling. The Jung clan's cultivators hurried to follow their sect leader. Ni Huaisong's overjoyed voice echoed from inside the vast demon-quelling cave. Everyone, come in quick! It's so spacious in here! Is there a Qianbei who can help with the array on the ground? I don't know how! I don't know how to fix this! At that last bit, the same word blared through everyone's minds. Useless! Fingers never leaving the strings of his guqin, Lan Wangji looked up and called out, Shufu! Lan Qiren hadn't wanted to go in at first. He would rather have remained outside and fought until the bitter end. However, he was not waging this battle alone. There were many Lan and Jin clan cultivators under his command, and they were not the main force in the fight. He did not want to treat the lives of those disciples with such disregard. If there was a thread of hope for survival, he was compelled to seize it. He didn't look at Lan Wangji, but raised his sword and shouted, Go inside and stay vigilant! By this point, all 4 major clans had retreated inside the cave. The Jin clan of Lanling, the Lan clan of Gusu, the Ni clan of Qinghe, and the Zheng clan of Yanmeng. With them taking the lead, the rest of the clans immediately decided to abandon this dogged, uneven battle. After all, if there were ferocious beasts or nefarious creatures inside the demon-quelling cave, the 4 big guys in front would take care of them. Old man Lan is in a mood, yes. Come in quick! Oh, there's so much room! And so, the minor clans swarmed inside. Only the Su clan of Moling did not follow. Sect leader Su, are you not coming in? Wei Wuxian taunted. Very well, stay out here then. But hasn't everyone lost their spiritual powers? Aren't you throwing your life away by staying outside? Your courage is commendable. Susha shot him a look, his gloomy face twitching non-stop. In the end, he still led his disciples inside. The demon-quelling cave easily held the 1,000+ cultivators in attendance. This is a much bigger cave than I was imagining. Their panting breaths, distressed conversations, and disquieted voices echoed endlessly in the vast empty main cavern. One second. Where were we? If it's 1,000 people, which is crazy. Lan Qiren went to Ni Huaisong's side the moment he entered, and under the latter's ardently hopeful gaze, he inspected the damaged array on the ground. The array was indeed aged and worn. He cut his palm then and there, filling the gaps in the array with his blood. Wen Ning was guarding the stairs, blocking several fierce corpses from getting in. The moment the array was repaired, an invisible barrier sealed the cave against the walking corpses, putting a temporary stop to the horde's onslaught. Wei Wuxian waited until Lan Wangji had packed away his guqin before they strolled back into the cave. The 1,000+ cultivators had only just begun to relax when the sight of the black and white pair descending the stairs made their hearts jump into their throats again. Because they were so sexy? No one had foreseen this would be how it ended. They had come to besiege the Yiling Patriarch, but now found themselves surrounded. Worse, they had to hide inside the Yiling Patriarch's good old lair to survive even just a little longer. Once Lan Qiren had repaired the array on the ground, he moved to the front of the crowd to block Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian's path. Oh my goodness. He held his head high, standing straight and tall and puffing out his chest, stopping just short of opening both arms wide. He acted like he was ready to fight to the bitter end if Wei Wuxian dared to try and destroy the array, ready to both lay down his own life and perish with him if need be. Shufu, Lan Wangji greeted. Oh my god. Lan Qiren's disappointment had yet to recede. For now, he still couldn't bring himself to look at his favorite pupil, whom he had taught since childhood. He looked at Wei Wuxian instead and coldly demanded, "What, exactly, do you want?" Wei Wuxian sat down on the steps. "Nothing. Since we're all inside now, let's chat." "We have nothing to talk to you about," Yi Wei-chun shouted. "What do you mean?" Wei Wuxian asked. "I refuse to believe you guys aren't curious about why you suddenly lost your powers. Heavens be my witness, I'm not powerful enough to affect all of you without anyone noticing." Yi Wei-chun scoffed, but Ni Huaiseng spoke up. "Yeah, I think he makes a good point." The crowd glared at him. "I bet none of you had the time to sit down and eat before heading off to besiege me, so it couldn't have been poison," Wei Wuxian continued. "It's definitely not poison," Lan Sizhui joined in. "I've never heard of a poison that can impair spiritual power so suddenly. If such a poison existed, it would fetch a hefty sum. It would be highly sought after by many cultivators, and word of its existence would spread like wildfire." Many of the cultivators who'd set off on this campaign were doctors. They'd grabbed a few test subjects and dragged them over to examine them. Afterward, the test subjects whispered, "How is it? Is the spiritual power impairment temporary or permanent?" This question got everyone's attention at once. Tiercella, thank you for donating for the rug. Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Tiercella. Thank you. Suddenly, no one had the time to be wary of whatever Wei Wuxian was up to. If their spiritual power had been permanently impaired and could never be recovered, that was tantamount to becoming crippled for life. It was a far more terrifying, agonizing prospect than dying in here. The doctors conferred for a while. In the end, they concluded, "No need to worry. Everyone's cores are well and undamaged. This condition should only be temporary." Jiang Cheng secretly breathed a sigh of relief when he heard it would pass. Oh no, like he'd gone through that before. He took the handkerchief Jinling passed to him and wiped away the blood on his face. "Temporary, you said. How long is temporary?" he demanded. "When will my powers be restored?" Hesitantly, one of the doctors answered, "Probably at least 4 hours." Jiang Cheng's expression turned frighteningly dark. 4 hours?! The cultivators gazed outside the demon-quelling cave, where the dense horde of fierce corpses swarmed. Their numbers matched those of the living humans in the expedition. Every single one of the corpses had their eyes locked on the human heads moving around inside the demon-quelling cave, captivated by the billowing yang energy. Reluctant to move a single step away, the swarm was packed together so tight that the corpses were writhing and rubbing shoulders as they shuffled about outside. They looked like they would charge inside the moment they saw an opening. Their thick, putrid stench assaulted the nose. At least 4 hours remained before their spiritual powers would return. They didn't even know if the damage array on the ground, which had been abandoned for years and repaired in haste, could hold for that long. And the Yiling Patriarch was in the cave with them. They couldn't fathom why he had made a move. Perhaps he was waiting to kill them after... why he hadn't made a move. Perhaps he was waiting to kill them after he'd had his fun terrorizing them, like a cat toying with mice. But no one present could guarantee when or if Wei Wuxian would suddenly do any harm. Their gazes fell on him anew. "I already said you don't have to look at me like that," Wei Wuxian commented. "There are only 2 groups inside the demon-quelling cave who still have their spiritual power. Hang Guanjun and I are one, and the kiddos who were captured and dragged up the mountain are the other. It's not unfair of me to say everyone else is powerless, right? If I wanted to do anything to you, could the kids stop me?" Susha humphed. "Enough talk. Kill us if you must. If the people here are heroes, they won't cry out. Don't expect anyone to beg for your mercy either." The moment he spoke, quite a number of people started grumbling. Only about 20 in the group of 1,000 bore Wei Wuxian a real grudge. The rest had joined the siege on impulse when they heard about it. At best, they were righteous passerbys who were aiding in the campaign out of a sense of justice. All they wanted to do was follow the rest of the group's lead. If they managed to kill 1 or 2 of Wei Wuxian's fierce corpse lackeys, that would be an accomplishment, one they could boast of. But if it meant they needed to pay a real price, there were few people present who actually wanted to dip their toes in this muddy water. Wei Wuxian glanced at him. "Real sorry, but who are you again?" I love this. This is such a particular burn for Susha. Veins bulged on Susha's forehead. He was just about to answer when Lan Jingyi loudly voiced a question. And then what? If it's not poison, what is it? Wei Wuxian immediately forgot all about Susha. There's no reason everyone should have lost their spiritual power all at once. There had to have been a method, as well as an opportunity. You must have come into contact with something, or done something, before or during when you were all en route to the burial mounds. The kiddos were captured a few days ago, so the timing was staggered. Hang Guanjun and I didn't take the same path up the mountain, so our route differed as well. Can everyone think back on what they did? Amidst the sound of crickets, someone answered in a confused tone. What's something we've all done before we headed up to the burial mounds? Did we all drink water? Gosh, I can't remember. I don't know. Who among them would so obliviously respond to Wei Wuxian at a time like this, let alone do and think as he ordered? None, save the head shaker himself, Ni Huaisang. Someone finally blurted, despite himself. No one drank water on the way up. Who'd dare drink from a corpse mountain? Ni Huaisang started guessing at random. So was it because we breathed in the fog? It certainly made sense that there could be something odd about the fog in the Black Forest. That's possible, someone immediately agreed. But Jinling refuted the suggestion just as quickly. Impossible! The fog is thicker at the top of the mountain. We were trapped here for 2 days, and our spiritual powers are still intact. Susha seemed unable to listen to this any longer. That's enough! Do you all really want to discuss this with him? Is it fun, letting the enemy lead you around by the nose? His face changed all of a sudden, and his words came to an abrupt stop. Go on, Wei Wuxian urged. Why did you stop? The sect disciples of the Su clan of Molang all shot to their feet. Sect leader! Sect leader, what's wrong? Susha brushed aside the sect disciples who came over to assist him. He raised his hand, first to point at Wei Wuxian, then at Lan Wangji. The sect disciples nearest to him fumed. Wei Wuxian, what evil spell have you cast? That isn't an evil spell, Lan Sizhui tried to explain. It's... Lan Wangji had been sitting to the side, poised and proper. He pressed his right hand to his guqin's 7 strings, halting their vibration. The babbling sect disciples suddenly made sounds like ducks being choked, and their clamor came to an abrupt end. All the Lan's presence thought to themselves, that's the Lan clan silence spell. He was like, nobody's allowed to talk shit about my wife anymore. Lan Wangji waited until quiet returned to the clamorous, demon-quelling cave before he turned to Wei Wuxian. Continue. Rage filled Susha's eyes. His lips were pressed tight together. His voice was gone, and his throat was as parched as if it had been burned. But what frustrated him even more than not being able to verbally assault Wei Wuxian was the humiliation of being subjected to Lan Wangji's control. Bro's got issues. He rubbed his throat repeatedly, attempting to unsuccessfully release the spell. He had no choice but to look pleadingly at Lan Qiren, who, to his surprise, remained stone-faced and didn't spare him a single glance. No one likes you, Susha. Also, I love the contrast between Wei Wuxian being like, and who are you again? And Jingguan Yao, who immediately was like, I know you. I know everything about you. And Susha's like, but we only met once. And Jingguan Yao's like, that's my special gift. I know things. Because you're so special. Bat's eyelashes. Lan Qiren could have released the spell, and Lan Wangji would not have cast it again out of respect for his position as an elder of the Lan family. But there was much disconnect between the Su clan of Molang and the Lan clan of Gusu, which was why Lan Qiren showed no intent to help him by releasing the spell. The people present understood now. If anyone attempted to quarrel with Wei Wuxian, Lan Wangji would seal their mouth. That terrified the crowd into silence. However, at times like these, there was always a brave soul who stepped forward, fearless in the face of death. That very brave soul mocked. Wei Wuxian, as expected of the Yiling patriarch, eh? Such a bully. You're not even gonna let people talk now. How weird, Wei Wuxian said. What's weird, Wei Qianbei? Lan Sizhui asked. Sect leader Su has been acting very weird since earlier, Wei Wuxian replied. When the corpses attacked, he was calling for everyone who'd lost their spiritual powers to pass up a chance at survival and hurry off to their deaths. Now he's trying to gag me, not let me ask questions. Not to mention how he keeps trying to piss me off. It's like the very idea of you guys staying alive a single minute longer scares him. What's the logic here? Is this how an ally should behave? Ooh, he's a little suspicious. Now that Wei Wuxian mentioned it, a shadow of a doubt began to cloud many people's thoughts. Sect leader Su did seem overly talkative today, but no one else had commented on it, and it wasn't their place to say anything, so they had prudently chosen to remain silent. Another portion of the crowd, however, began to mentally review what they had done before coming up the mountain or while en route. Wei Wuxian glanced at the sect disciples of the Su clan of Moling, who were standing very far from the sect disciples of the Lan clan of Gusu, the latter of whom weren't speaking, the former a single glance. The more he observed both groups, the more he felt there was something awkward going on. He whispered of this curiosity to Lan Wangji. "Hang Guanjun, let me ask you something. The Lan clan of Gusu and the Su clan of Moling both cultivate through music, and Gusu and Moling aren't too far from each other in the Zhengnan region. Shouldn't you be on good terms? Why does it feel like the two clans are at odds?" Lan Sijue and Lan Jingyi scooted over, and Lan Jingyi provided a loud response. "Of course we're at odds!" "The Su clan of Moling split off from the Lan clan of Gusu," Lan Wangji explained. "What?" Wei Wuxian was surprised. Lan Sijue covered Lan Jingyi's mouth and said in a low voice, "Wei Qianbei, you may not know this, but the Su clan of Moling was established by a non-blood related sect disciple who left the Lan clan of Gusu. Because he couldn't shake off the influence of his former sect, his clan's secret techniques are all pretty much the same as those Lan clan. They specialize in music, and sect leader Su Minshan's finest spiritual weapon is even a 7-string guqin that resembles Hang Guanjun's. He's such an embarrassing little copycat! I can't believe it! He gets even more embarrassing." Shocked into speechlessness, Wei Wuxian turned to glance at the gloomy Susha. Lan Jingyi struggled free of Lan Sijue's hold and humphed indignantly. "That's not all, it gets weirder! Sect leader Su..." "Alright, I know I should be quieter. Gosh! Sect leader Su doesn't just copy everything, it's also a sore spot with him if you say he's just mimicking our Hang Guanjun. He gets really hostile about it. How can such a person really exist?" He was talking louder and louder. Resignedly, Lan Sijue admonished him, "Jingyi!" However, Susha had already heard everything clearly. His face turned dark and steely. Anger burned in his eyes, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood, finally breaking the silence spell by force. When he spoke, his voice was as raspy as if he had aged 10 years. "The Lan clan of Gusu, a sect full of distinguished cultivators indeed, #1 in the cultivation world, boasting the motto elegance and righteousness. Is this what you teach your disciples?" They're really good at gossiping. Sect leader Ouyang spoke up. "Sect leader Su, we are currently facing a great foe. Let's not damage the camaraderie between our own people." Susha sneered. "Our own people? Take a look at the Lan clan. Every one of them is keeping Wei Wuxian's company. How are they our own people?" It made the rest of the Lan clan visibly unhappy to hear him say that. Lan Qiren gave him a look, but stayed silent. One of the older, high-ranking guest cultivators of the Lan clan spoke up, his expression surly. "Su Minshan, even though you are no longer part of the Lan clan, you must still watch what you say." One of the sect disciples of the Su clan of Moling immediately stepped forward. "Our sect leader broke with the Lan clan long ago. What right do you have to speak to him that way?" Lan Jingyi, who had long harbored grievances against the Su clan of Moling, shouted back at them. "It's thanks to our Gusu education that your sect leader enjoys the status he has today. What, are we not allowed to say anything when he makes false accusations?" Inside the demon-quelling cave, the two groups traded angry glares and began to hurl scorn at each other. Another person from the Su clan yelled, "There are many sect disciples in the Lan clan. Does every single one of them have the ability to start their own sect? Don't be so conceited." Who's the one acting conceited? Someone from the Lan clan immediately rebuffed. Whose clan was it that remained blithely unaware of all the mistakes they made while playing their evil, repelling songs? The moment he said that, it all became clear to Wei Wuxian. "It wasn't food, and it wasn't the lay of the land on the way up here," he said. Everyone stopped, taken aback. "Don't forget, there was another thing you all did after coming up the mountain," Wei Wuxian continued. "What was that?" Lan Sijue asked. "Killed walking corpses," Wei Wuxian said. Could it be like in Yi City, where the corpses had some sort of poisonous powder in their bodies?" Ouyang Zishan blurted. "Dad, were you killing those animated corpses? Did weird colored powder spray out of them?" "There was no powder, nothing," sect leader Ouyang stated. Ouyang Zishan pressed further, refusing to give up. Then what about fluids?" "Enough," Zheng Cheng coldly cut in. We would have had been blind to not notice the walking corpses spraying strange powders or fluids when we killed them. Ouyang Jishen had thought he was onto something. Now he could only flush and scratch at his ear. His father hurriedly pulled his overexcited son down to sit. I'm like, is this what Jingguan Yao did to Ni Huaisang? It is certainly connected to killing walking corpses, Wei Wuxian said, but the problem wasn't the corpses themselves, it was the ones doing the killing. He turned to Lan Qiren. Lao Lan Qianbei, may I ask you a question? Lan Qiren glanced at Lan Wangji and replied dispassionately, why not ask him if you have a question? Why ask me? While Lan Qiren was pedantic, he was not a reckless man. He had already sensed something was amiss, but had remained patient and listened all the while. He was still making a sour face, but Wei Wuxian had seen him make all sorts of faces at him since he was young, and many other people had pulled faces at him since. He hadn't cared about such things for a long time. Considering Lan Qiren was the uncle who had raised Lan Wangji, there was even less to be angry about. He stroked his chin and chuckled. Of course, sir. I was just worried that you'd get mad if I asked him too many questions in front of you. But since you've given me the okay, I'll go ahead. Lan Jian? Lan Wangji answered. The Su clan of Moling is a clan that split off from the Lan clan of Gusu, right? Wei Wuxian asked. Lan Wangji answered in the affirmative. After they split off, the Su clan used the Lan clan as a reference for everything, including their strongest techniques, correct? Yes, Lan Wangji replied. One of the Lan clan's secret techniques, the eradication tone, has evil repelling effects. The 7-string guqin is considered the most superb and abstruse among instruments, which is also why the guqin arts are the most widely practiced among the cultivators in the clan. The Su clan of Moling followed the Lan clan's example, so their clan is mostly composed of guqin cultivators, right? Correct, Lan Wangji answered. The clan leader of the Su clan of Moling left the Lan clan of Gusu and established his own sect, but his own guqin skills were lacking, and so the disciple he taught also made numerous mistakes while playing, right? Yes, Lan Wangji answered calmly. Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji traded statements back and forth, asking questions and giving answers like no one else was around. Those who were listening gradually discovered that they weren't just making fun of Susha, but rather peeling the layers off an onion, and so they listened more and more seriously. So even if there was something off about a section of the battle music that the Su clan played while killing walking corpses on the trek up to the burial mounds, the Lan clan wouldn't think anything of it, Wei Wuxian slowly continued. They would just write it off as the Su clan making errors due to their poor technique and poor memory of the score. Wow, it's like literally being inept helped them be evil in the end. It's like, don't worry, they're all gonna think we're just a bunch of idiots who can't play. That's hilarious. They'd never suspect the melody might be deliberately incorrect. Is that right? As he asked the last question, Susha's pupils contracted. Veins popped violently on the hand pressed to the hilt of his sword, which he'd secretly drawn half an inch out of its scabbard. At the time, Lan Wangji raised his eyes and saw the mirrored understanding in Wei Wuxian's gaze. He clearly enunciated each word of his answer. That is correct. Susha drew his sword in a full with a swing. Wei Wuxian smiled and used 2 fingers to push aside the sharp tip of the blade. What are you doing? Don't forget you lost all your spiritual power. What's the use in threatening me, huh? Yeah, sounds a little familiar, huh? I love it when music can be a plot device. Susha's sword raised. Susha, sword raised, could neither stab nor withdraw. He clenched his teeth. You two keep targeting me again and again. What are you trying to insinuate? Have I been too subtle in making my point? You thought I was insinuating? Wei Wuxian asked curiously. Let me make myself clearer then. Everyone here lost their spiritual power because they all did one thing. What was that thing? Kill walking corpses. During the slaughter, sect leader Su of the Su clan of Moling accompanied everyone all the way up the mountain. He pretended he was repelling evil with his guqin, but in fact, he had secretly altered part of the battle song into a melody that would make someone temporarily lose their spiritual power. He seemed to fight alongside you while you were all knee-deep in the bloodbath, but he was actually double-crossing you. Slander! Susha exclaimed. There are plenty of guqin cultivators from the Lan clan here, right? Wei Wuxian asked the crowd. When you were going up the mountain, did you hear mistakes in the battle song played by Susha? No one was more qualified to answer the question than the Guchin cultivators of the land clan of Gusu. They immediately responded in unison. We did indeed! Wow. Sect leader Su, you know that many members of the land clan wholly scorn the Su clan, so you made use of that contempt, Wei Wuxian continued. While evil songs can cause harm, they also come with certain requirements regarding the spiritual power of one playing them. Of course, there's no way your power alone could fuel a song that would cause nearly 1,000 people to lose their spiritual power, which was why you brought along all the Guchin cultivators of your Su clan and had them play with you. Of all clans present, only the Land clan would notice something amiss, and they wouldn't pay it any mind, because they already assumed you were a bunch of dumbasses anyways. Even if they noticed you were playing the battle song incorrectly, they would just write it off as you being incompetent and poorly training your disciples as a result. Wow. Ni Huaisang gaped. Are there really such wicked songs in the world? Ones that can make people lose their spiritual powers? How could there not be? Wei Wuxian said. The sound of the Guchin can repel evil, so why can't it summon it? There's a collection of Dongying melodies called Collection of Spirit Turmoil. Documented within it are wicked songs that circulate in the land of Dongying. Some of the songs can even kill. Why couldn't there be one that makes people temporarily lose their spiritual power? Lan Shiren Chanbei is here. Ask him. Is there such a volume inside the Room of Forbidden Books, underneath the library pavilion? Susha composed himself, then sneered. Even if such songs exist, I wouldn't have been able to enter the Room of Forbidden Books during my time studying at the Land Clan. I'd have no way to see those scores, and I've never set a single foot inside the cloud recesses since. Never have I heard of this book, but you certainly are familiar with this collection of spiritual turmoil, and you're also abnormally close to Hangguan Jun. Who's more likely to have come in contact with it, me or you? Abnormally close, now. Wei Wuxian smiled. Who said it had to be you who entered the Room of Forbidden Books? We all know it was Jing Guanyao who was abnormally close to Lan Shichen. If your master could go in and out as he pleases, that would work fine too, no? He probably gave you the idea to tamper with the scores in the first place, right? An important figure with a great deal of authority who could go in and out of the cloud recesses as he pleased. There was no need to spell out who Susha's master was. Everyone knew it could only be Lian Fangzhen. It was Jiggy! Oh, shit! Ah, CSCL, yes, that is another kind of foreshadowing about the reversing of evil and using it in different ways, yeah. What an ingenious plan the two of you hatched, Wei Wuxian said. Capture the juniors of various clans and lure all the people up the burial mounds. The mantis stalks the cicady, unaware of the aureole behind. He's using his injuries to avoid suspicion and as an excuse to not be here. The two of you have been colluding. One of you plays a wicked song to damage everyone's spiritual power, while the other uses the yin tiger tally to manipulate the fierce corpses to besiege the mountain. In the end, thousands will be wiped out on my territory. And who would believe me if I said I didn't do it, right? You weren't scared of running into me either. Wei Wuxian has a notoriously bad rep. New grudges and old hate will come together, and in the midst of that frenzy, no one's gonna listen to me try and explain. Maybe it'll even provoke me into going on a killing spree. And wouldn't that save you the trouble of making the move yourselves? Laughable, Susha said. Lang Fanzun is already the cultivation chief and leader of the cultivation world. He has no need to fight for your power. What does he gain by having so many people deliver themselves to their death on your doorstep? Smear my name if you must, but how dare you slander Lian Fanzun? Someone in the chat was like, I think he had a one-sided crush on Jing Guanyao, and I would agree. If you're so convinced I'm slandering you, will you dare play the evil-repelling battle song the Su clan of Mo Ling was playing while climbing the mountain? Do it right here, in front of everyone, Wei Wuxian said. All the Guchin cultivators of the Land clan of Gusu were present. If Susha played something different from what they'd heard earlier, they'd call him out at once. Within the demon-quelling cave, people silently shifted farther and farther away from those of the Su clan. The space they'd vacated unintentionally formed a large clearing, with the Su clan isolated at its center. Wei Wuxian seized the chance. Won't do it? Fine, that's okay. Why don't you take a look at this, then? He retrieved 2 pieces of yellowing paper from his robes. He waved them, only letting people get a vague glimpse of the fact that musical scores were written on the sheets. Did you really think we left Golden Carp Tower empty-handed? Inside the secret chamber, behind the bronze mirror of Fragrance Palace, Jingguan Yao had hidden 2 pages torn from the collection of spiritual turmoil, and we found them. If we show them to Lan Shiren Qianbei and allow him to determine whether they match the melody you played, the truth will come out. Susha sneered. You lie. How do I know if those aren't random scores you scribbled down just to slander me? Would I carry 2 sheets of music around all day, solely on the off chance I could whip them out? Wei Wuxian asked back. Either way, Lan Shiren Qianbei can tell if it's a lie with a single look. Susha had suspected deceit at first. Now his brow wrinkled at the sight of Wei Wuxian's sly grin, as well as the certainty in his voice as Lan Shiren took the sheets. He tensed and cried, Lan Qianbei, watch out! It's a trap! Before he reached to snatch away the 2 papers. This is just so embarrassing. Imagine Jingguan Yao, who is the master manipulator, like a perfect liar, watching Susha just fail this encounter so terribly. Right then, the icy blue sword glare of Bishen struck at him. Susha drew his sword to block, but as soon as he did, he'd realized he'd been had. Susha's sword was named Nanping. As it clashed with Bishen, its sword glare blazed bright. It was very obviously brimming with spiritual power! Oh shit. Oh shit, that's so embarrassing. Wei Wuxian folded the 2 sheets of paper and tucked them back into his robes at once. Do my eyes deceive me? You actually still have spiritual power, he said, feigning surprise. Congrats, congrats, but dare I ask, if you had no devious scheme, then why did you hide the fact that you hadn't lost your spiritual power? It's so embarrassing! Oh my god! Of course, those sheets of paper weren't pages from the collection of spiritual turmoil that they'd found in the Golden Carp Tower. They were the score of the odd melody that Jingguan Yao had played, which Lan Wangji had written out while inside the room of forbidden books. He'd left a copy for Lan Qichen to reference, and Wei Wuxian had swiped both, keeping them on hand to fool people with. Now he'd successfully made Susha both skeptical and anxious, and when Wei Wuxian added insult to injury by repeatedly mocking and provoking him, Susha had grown impatient, as expected. They played him like a 7-stringed Guqin. Lan Wangji had suddenly tested him without Wei Wuxian even needing to say anything, and Susha had let the cat out of the bag himself. The crowd quickly dodged away from him, but they didn't need to. Lan Wangji moved the way Wei Wuxian talked, pressing at every step, giving his opponent no room to breathe. It took everything Susha had to not fall and put himself at a disadvantage. Stumbling, he backed up until he hit the stairs. When he looked down, he saw the red spell array beneath his feet. Lan Wangji's eyes sharpened. Oh crap, he's gonna break the array! That was just fixed! Wei Wuxian thought. Sure enough, Susha bit his tongue and spat a mouthful of blood at the ground. The dense bloodstain covered the already dull, unclear red marks. Lan Wangji no longer had time for him. Instead, he slashed his left hand with Bishen's sharp edge and attempted to redraw the array. Susha took the opportunity to hurl a talisman at the ground. A blast of blue flames and smoke erupted. A transportation talisman! The gravedigger from the Chang clan of Yueyang Cemetery was familiar with the Lan clan sword techniques. Susha used to be a sect disciple of the Lan clan, so he met that requirement. Susha was a smoke-masked man whom they had seen so many times! Oh shit! Wei Wuxian crouched next to Lan Wangji. How is it? Lan Wangji was using his bleeding fingers to draw on the ground, but after a while he shook his head. The new blood had thoroughly covered the array and destroyed the spell. It could not be repaired. Wei Wuxian took his hand and used his own sleeve to wipe away the blood and dirt on it. If it's not working, then leave it be. The array was broken and on the verge of total collapse. The Su clan of Moling's sect disciples were all clearly confused, so it seemed Susha never told them that they were playing the wrong song, nor how to avoid losing their spiritual power, which meant the Su clan disciples were originally meant to die, just like everyone else. They huddled together, terrified the rest of the group would blame them and seek vengeance. However, panic had descended upon the demon-quelling cave. No one had time to try and get even with them. Several family heads grabbed their sons and exhorted them. When the corpse horde charges in here a few minutes, think of a way to escape. You have to live on, no matter what. Understand? Jinling cringed when he heard them, though deep down, he hoped his own uncle would say the same. Oh. He waited for a long time, shooting Zhengcheng looks when he said nothing of the sort. He stared so hard that Zhengcheng finally turned his gaze on him. The gloom weighing down his brows had eased a little, but the furrow between them had not. What's wrong with your eyes? Nothing, Jinling unhappily snapped back. Aww. You know, get over here or I'll break your legs is the best you're gonna get, Jinling, okay? Wei Wuxian tore off a clean strip of his sleeve to wipe and wrap the injury on Lan Wangji's hand. A figure suddenly rushed at them from behind, swinging their sword down. Lan Wangji reached out with his right hand and flicked. There was a metallic sound as he slapped the impertinent blade aside with his bare hand. Wei Wuxian squinted. You again? The force of the slap shocked the man back a few steps, making him fall to the ground. It was Yi Wei Chun. His eyes were bloodshot as he brandished his sword once more. Wei Wuxian, I don't believe a single word you just said. The cat's out of the bag. Susha flashed his sword glare and then ran off. What part of it do you not believe? Wei Wuxian asked. But Yi Wei Chun simply swung his sword again, screaming, I don't believe you! I don't believe anything you say! Someone blinded by hatred would refuse to accept anything that could be beneficial to the enemy. Just then, panic-stricken cries came from ahead of them. It's broken! The array is broken! They're coming in! Wen Ning sent a row of raggedly dressed fierce corpses flying with his bare hands, but he was only a force of one. After the loss of the blood array barrier, there was nothing to stop the horde of corpses from swarming into the demon-quelling cave like a black tide. The putrid smell of rot and the sound of snarls filled the vast cavern in an instant. Jinling had never seen so many fierce corpses before, and at such a close range. Despite himself, his hair stood on end, and his grip on Sui Hua tightened. Suddenly, someone peeled open his fingers and stuffed something cold into his palm. He looked down and was stunned. Juju? Zhengcheng rose to his feet with the support of a powerless Sandu, his body swaying with the effort. Just try losing Zidian, if you dare. He didn't give him any words of support, but he gave him Zidian! Oh, just like his mom! Aww. Lan Zijue, Lan Jingyi, and the rest rushed forward, wielding their swords. Ghost General, we've come to your aid! Sect leader Ouyang could neither stand up nor hold his son back. Jishen, wait! He yelled. Ouyang Jishen swung his sword with all his might, turning his head to shout, Don't be scared, Dad, I'll protect you! But the moment he turned his head, a wizened claw went straight for his throat. Jishen! Sect leader Ouyang screamed desperately, consumed by terror. A sword lopped off the claw in the nick of time. Lan Qiren caught Ouyang Jishen and threw him back into the crowd. Leading a group of Lan Clan's sword cultivators, he charged forth to kill. He had been resting for a while, so he'd recovered more of his strength than the others, and his blade was fierce and sharp. Many of the spectators' jaws dropped in surprise. Lan Zijue swung his sword like the wind. Suddenly, metal clashed behind him. Someone had helped block a strike at his back. Lan Zijue was astonished. Jin Gongzi, why are you here too? As it turned out, when Jinling saw the others the same age as him join the charge, he couldn't sit still anymore. When Zhengcheng wasn't paying attention, he stuffed the silver ring Zidian back into his hand and squeezed out of the crowd, rushing to the entrance of the cave, the most dangerous area. Zhengcheng had tried to chase after him, but he could only stumble a few steps. He tried swinging his sword, only to feel like Sandu weighed 1,000 pounds. Wow, Zhengcheng really sucks without his core. Two female corpses tackled him, one on his left and one on his right. Zhengcheng swore and raised his sword to keep fighting. However, another pair of hands ripped the two corpses to pieces. Sect leader Zheng! Zhengcheng flew into a rage when he heard that voice. Get the fuck away from me! He kicked Wen Ning aside and roared, Jinling! Oh my god. Wen Ning, even after all this, is still saving Zhengcheng. Lan Jingyi shuddered. I think you better go back. Your uncle is going to eat everyone here alive. Zhengcheng's roar was more terrifying than the fierce corpses, but Jinling ignored it. You go back. Ouyang Jishen did not remain in his father's grip for long before he charged over again, sword in hand. Wow! I had no idea that Lan Qiren Shen Shang knew how to use a sword. He's so awesome at it too. Lan Jingyi responded as loudly as he always did. Of course! Who do you think taught Hengguan-jun and Zewu-jun the art of the sword before they were 16? Sect leader Ouyang forced himself to swing his sword. What are you waiting for? He yelled at the people who still stood petrified inside the cave. If you don't fight, then it's certain death. The juniors are fighting. What are you sitting around for? Influenced by the sight of the boys fighting as hard as they could, more and more people drew their swords, using whatever strength and spiritual power they had left to join in the battle. Gradually, the dense horde of corpses surrounding the cave was blown into scattered rows. About an hour later, those rows became groups of 2s and 3s. The situation was actually turning in their favor. By the time Mdzs had slashed the last grasping fierce corpse in twain, the corpses inside the cave were piled as high as a mountain, and blood flowed like rivers. Everyone was covered in bloody filth that had long since congealed and crusted. Their lungs were chocked with the powerful stench of blood. Is this the part in the Donghua where, like, Mdzs and Wei Wuxian are in, like, red robes? And it's like, they're married, but it's blood? Or does that happen later? Oh, it's here? Nice. That's awesome. I love that they did what they could with censorship, you know? After the hard-won battle, many had already collapsed to the ground, unable to get up, barely different from the dead bodies littered about. The only ones who remained standing with the support of their swords were a handful of Lan clan leaders and energetic youths. Lan Jingyi stared blankly into space, his face pale. I've never killed so many walking corpses before. All by myself. I killed at least 30. No, 40. Me too, Ouyang Jishen agreed. Then, like the boys had planned it, they dropped to the ground at the same time with a thud, never wanting to rise again. That's so cute. Holding himself upright, out of sheer willpower, Zheng Cheng walked to Jinling and grabbed the boy. Were you injured? Even the heavy breaths Jinling heaved carried a metallic scent. No, Zheng Cheng immediately smacked him to the ground. No? Then I'll give you some injuries to teach you a lesson. Stinkin' brat, you think my words are nothing but empty air? He scolded. But he couldn't stay upright after that swing either, and was forced to sit down heavily. As he panted, his gaze wandered to the two standing near the opening of the demon-quelling cave. Okay, so Zheng Cheng has smacked Jinling once now. Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji were both filthy. Wei Wuxian was wearing black, so he didn't look too bad, but Lan Wangji's white robes were now dyed various shades of black and red. Just like Wei Wuxian's robes. A terrifying sight. Only his extraordinarily meaningful forehead ribbon was still mostly clean. I love how now it says it's extraordinarily meaningful. Like, I feel like that's gotta be kind of tongue-in-cheek. Now that Wei Wuxian finally knows what it means. He gripped Bishan in hand, its blade still steadily coursing with spiritual power. This was the first time those present had seen such an unkempt Hangguanzhen, but no one had the mind to care about that at a time like this. Is it over? Someone asked. At the sound of that voice, everyone had the same thought. Ni Huaisong actually survived a fight like that and still talks with such energy? What a miracle. No one had the energy to answer him, but Ni Huaisong was practically weeping tears of joy. Oh, thank heavens! The horde is finally defeated! What blessings from the ancestors that I was able to survive disaster! His emotions were infectious, and the boys also started cheering. One by one, more and more joined in on the celebration. Over on the Lan Clan side, however, someone gasped in alarm. Xianxiang! Lan Shuren's voice immediately followed. No need to help me! Lan Wangji looked over and saw Lan Shuren coughing up blood. After dismissively waving off the concern, Lan Shuren sat down in the lotus position and began to regulate his breathing. Lan Wangji swiftly approached and briefly checked his pulse, but he was met with protest as he was just about to channel his spiritual energy into him. No need! My spiritual power has not yet returned. Your efforts will be in vain, like dropping an ox made of mud into the sea. Alright. Lan Wangji withdrew his hand and rose to his feet. What should we do about this Hangguanzhen? The guest cultivators asked him out of habit. It was only after the question was posed that they realized the impropriety of what they had done. However, Lan Shuren was resting, eyes closed, and showed no sign of caring. Take a moment to rest, check for casualties, treat the wounded without delay, Lan Wangji answered. He'd always possessed incredible authority within the Lan clan of Gusu, and the sect disciples were greatly reassured. With even more energy than before, they answered in unison. Yes, sir! Before they could move, however, Wei Wuxian suddenly spoke up. Quiet! He looked serious. The people immediately fell silent. Those who were excitedly cheering also fell quiet, one by one, gazing disquietly at him. What's it gonna be? What is it gonna be? There was not a sound inside the demon-quelling cave, aside from that of a soft breathing. Against this stillness, another sound was becoming increasingly clear. It came from outside the demon-quelling cave, the sound of feet crunching withered branches and leaves underfoot. It wasn't just one person either. There were endless footsteps, crammed and packed together. The people inside the demon-quelling cave didn't even dare breathe anymore. Countless fearful eyes turned to the cavern's entrance. Something was slowly moving through the backwoods. The black woods, creeping along. It was hazy, obscured by darkness, barely visible, but accompanied by the sound of trudging footsteps, that something became progressively clearer, until all present could plainly see the ghastly white faces, the wizened hands, and the fangs in varying shades of red and yellow. What is it? It was a new wave of corpses! No! And it was an even bigger horde than the one before. The people inside the demon-quelling cave had thought survival was in sight. Now a monstrous sense of despair devoured the entire cave in an instant, and doom enveloped all present. Even Jin Ling, Lan Sizhui, and the other boys were left petrified, chilled to the bone by hopelessness. Some simply fainted, seeming unable to accept that their hopes had been dashed so swiftly. Some started to weep feebly, but no one had the energy to stand with sword in hand and keep fighting. Even if Wen Ning stood guard at the cave's entrance again, how long could he last on his own? Suddenly, Wei Wuxian called, "Hang Guanjun!" Lan Wangji looked back at him. Wei Wuxian took a breath, then stated, "I want to do something." His words drew the attention of the others present. "Will you accompany me?" Wei Wuxian added. Lan Wangji gazed right at him. His answer was clear and decisive. Yes. Wei Wuxian broke into a wide smile and stripped off his black outer robe. Under it was a white inner robe that was already half dyed red. However, that didn't stop him from smearing a few lines on it with his blood-stained hand. As the pattern he drew became clearer and clearer, those watching him work grew progressively more filled with disbelief, like they were watching some sort of monster. Fang Mengcheng stood up, then and there. "What are you doing?" he exclaimed in dismay. Wei Wuxian ignored him and continued with his drawing. And there is a picture! Aw, how cute! I like how they look here a lot. That's a lot of drawing, though. By the time he finished, it was no longer a white robe he was wearing, but a bright, conspicuous flag. Oh my god. It's almost like has been hella foreshadowed. Not even like foreshadowed, it's just like this tool has been used before. It was the mystery Mouska tool. A flag that drew the attention of all nefarious creatures to a single target. A spirit attraction flag. Wei Wuxian stood next to Lan Wangji, then waved at Lan Sizhui and the other boys to beckon them over. The juniors gathered around Jin Ling, wanted to get up as well, but was pushed down by Zheng Cheng. In a few minutes, when the second wave of corpses breaks in, I'll lure them to the blood pool. Hang Guanjun will be in charge of striking them down. This, he said before patting his heart, will be their target. They won't pay attention to you. Do not get distracted by fighting. Focus only on getting out. Lan Sizhui raised his voice for once. What? No, absolutely not! Sect leader Ouyang had given up on keeping his son reined in by now, so Ouyang's Zishan joined in the chorus. Wei Qianbei, we want to kill walking corpses too. I can kill another 100 of them. Lan Jingyi, on the other hand, was already stripping off his own clothes. I'm gonna draw a flag on myself too! Torn between laughing and crying, Wei Wuxian quickly stopped him. Alright, that's enough. Stop messing around. One target is enough. Hang Guanjun, working with me to strike down walking corpses is enough. Don't add to this mess, you lot. Faced with this situation, everyone inside the demon-quelling cave was at a complete loss. They all knew what a spirit attraction flag did, and even if there was someone willing to use their own flesh and blood to attack the corpse horde that was about to break through the array, sacrificing themselves for the safety of others, surely that was someone would never be Wei Wuxian. Lan Sizhui and the other juniors were about to keep talking, but Lan Wangji stopped them. Heed him. Then he turned to Lan Qiren and bowed deeply. Lan Qiren opened his eyes but didn't speak. Lan Shanxiang, Hangon Jun, he... Lan Sizhui said anxiously. This is how it should be, Lan Shiran said impassively. Lan Sizhui wanted to say more. But... Wen Ning, open the path, Wei Wuxian shouted. The black lines spreading from Wen Ning's neck instantly grew, crawling across nearly half his face. He no longer blocked the corpses from entering, but let loose a long howl and tore through the thick of the horde to open a path. With the barrier gone, the second wave of corpses set foot in the demon-quelling cave. Wei Wuxian gave Lan Tijue a push, urging him, Go! Crimson Queen! Hey dude, how's it going? Crimson Queen has transmigrated one reader to Pride Immortal Team Way. Thank you for sending a gift membership, Crimson Queen. Vico says he bowed to his family like in a wedding. Ooh. And I do love that Lan Shiran was like, this is what we gotta do. This is pretty gay, but I think being gay might save the world. He turned and ran towards the blood pool. Lamonji never left his side, running with him shoulder to shoulder. As expected, the blood-red spirit attraction flag drawn on his white robes was the best possible target. Not a single fierce corpse paid any attention to the living humans in the cave, completely ignoring them as they brushed past. Every pair of bloodshot eyes was locked on Wei Wuxian as they charged at him. Wave after wave of corpses advanced. Every path Wen Ning opened was swiftly filled again by the shambling dead, forcing him to push back again and open another. Only about half the people inside the demon-quelling cave had been successfully evacuated. The remainder included those who had yet to regain enough energy to walk. They saw the sword glare of Bishen sweeping across the cave at random, but whenever a row of fierce corpses was cut down, a new row quickly took their place. Ghastly wails echoed to the heavens, almost breaking through the domed ceiling of the demon-quelling cave. It didn't take long before a wave of corpses surrounded Wei Wuxian and Lamonji, making it hard for them to approach the blood pool. As the mountain of corpses piled higher and higher, the clear ground surrounding them continued to shrink. The juniors, fretting terribly at the sight, drew their swords and turned back around. Lan Jingyi spied someone cutting down corpses as they rushed outside. Will you please help? If you can still wield a sword, please help. Every little bit helps. Screw you, the man yelled. Never mind, Jingyi. We'll just rely on ourselves, Lan Sizhui said. That's hilarious. What? Hearing their voices, Wei Wuxian yelled, Wen Ning, throw them outside. Yes, sir. Wen Ning grabbed Lan Jingyi with one hand and was just about to grab Lan Sizhui with the other when Lan Sizhui stopped him. Ghost General, I can't go. Let me stay. Otherwise, I will regret it for the rest of my life. The moment they came face to face, Wen Ning froze. Seeing he wasn't coming after him anymore, Lan Sizhui immediately fought his way back into the cave. Lan Jingyi and the others also seized this chance to hurry past Wen Ning. Jinling, meanwhile, was being half dragged and half carried out of the cave by Zheng Cheng, brushing past multiple fierce corpses in the process. The fierce corpses in question were being baited by the spirit attraction flag on Wei Wuxian, their red eyes focused solely on him. They completely ignored everyone else. Jinling cried out, Juju, If you dare go back in there, don't bother calling me your Jojo anymore, Zheng Cheng said coldly. He needs to protect his family. Jinling's head shot up to look at him, but Zheng Cheng threw him out of the cave with a shout of, Stay put! Then he charged back into the demon-quelling cave with Sandu in his grip. Jinling was taken aback. Jojo, wait for me! He cried and followed him all the same. Meanwhile, inside the demon-quelling cave, the circle of clear ground surrounding Wei Wuxian and Lamoji had shrunk to a radius of less than 3 meters. Bishen's sword glare was bright as always, and the talisman flames blazed ceaselessly. However, there really were too many fierce corpses. Wei Wuxian had just hurled out a handful of talismans when his sharp senses detected danger. He turned his head to look. Sure enough, a fierce corpse had climbed onto the pile of bodies nearby, which was as tall as a grown man, and it was pouncing at him, mouth wide open. Wei Wuxian's hands were empty. He cursed and rummaged in his sleeves, but found nothing. His heart lurched violently. He'd run out of spell talismans. Lamonji, noticing the danger Wei Wuxian was in, was just about to reverse his grip and strike when there was a sudden screech. The fierce corpse had been split in two in mid-air. No, it had been torn in two, and the thing that had done it was right in front of everyone's eyes.
A fierce corpse that was utterly drenched in crimson blood stood atop the man-sized heap of bodies. Each hand held one half of the still convulsing corpse that had just tried to attack Wei Wuxian. Its head was lowered, and it was looking down at Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji. Lan Jingyi's jaw dropped, so low that his mouth could no longer close. Orion's Belt, thank you for donating. Being gay might save the world is basically what happened in Scumvillain too. Yeah, yes. Yes. That's very true. Thank you so much for donating Orion's Belt. Being gay might save the world after all. Oh, ancestors, what is that thing? Ouyang Jishen muttered. That was the exact thought running through everyone's minds. What is that thing? The strange corpse, which had appeared out of nowhere, was unlike any fierce corpse they had seen before. It dripped with scarlet blood from head to toe, as if it had just crawled out of the blood pool. It was nothing but skin and bones, and abnormally hideous to boot. The mob of corpses controlled by the Yin Tiger Tally were also drawn to this strange pier. They gave up on surrounding Wei Wuxian and looked at the bloody corpse with seeming trepidation instead. The bloody corpse took 2 steps forward. It swayed as it walked, its joints cracking, almost like it was stretching its extremities. Dark red blood dripped from its limbs and body, leaving a trail in its wake. Poignantly hostile yin energy overflowed from its body, as well as intense resentment. As it gradually approached, the other fierce corpses began to creep backwards. A number of the living humans who remained were pale as ash, terrified into silence. Lan Wangji stood in front of Wei Wuxian to shield him, but Wei Wuxian pushed down the hand gripping Bishan. Wait, he said in a low voice. He stared hard at the bloody corpse, a theory surfacing in his mind. His heart started to pound wildly, and he repeated, Wait. The corpse stopped about 3 meters away from the two of them. It suddenly tossed its head back and let loose 2 long howls. The second howl was shriller than the first. The living covered their ears. Small ripples began to appear on the surface of the blood pool. At first it was like a rock had been tossed into the pool, but the ripples continued to expand, growing wider and wider, like something restless lurking beneath the vicious blood. Suddenly, a hand broke through the surface. It seized the shore, fingers digging deep into the ground. What surfaced next was a scarlet face, its features decayed, half decayed with indistinct. A second bloody corpse had crawled out of the blood pool. Soon after, the surface of the crimson pool began to swirl and agitate like it was boiling. Splash, splash! Head after head floated to the surface of the water. A third, a fourth, a fifth! Every single one was stained by the terrifying filth of blood, wore faces most hideous, and snarled shrilly as they surfaced. As soon as they crawled out of the blood pool, they started to fight the other fierce corpses. It was as if a whirlwind of sharp red knives had descended upon the mob of corpses controlled by the Yin Tiger Tally. The horde was reduced to a flying mess of minced meat, body parts, and black blood. Jinling was visibly shaken. What are those things? Why does the blood pool have fierce corpses in it? Weren't all the fierce corpses on the burial mounds burned to ash? Sect leader Ouyang was shielding his son, who stood next to him. Some were not! Which ones weren't? Lan Jingyi asked. The... Sect leader Ouyang replied. He couldn't say it. When the last survivors of the Wen clan living on the burial mounds were killed during the siege, their 50-odd corpses had been thrown into the blood pool. Oh shit! Oh my god. I didn't know. I didn't know that. I was like, what is it? Who is it? Oh shit. Oh my god. So literally the fucking, the innocent Wens who everybody wanted to just kill, and they did, ended up saving them in the end. That's crazy. That's so poetic. Oh my god. Quinn, thank you for donating. Quinn says, fun fact, your speaking is so clear that you are easy to understand even at 2x speed. Oh, that's great. I'm very glad to hear that. I also like to listen to things at 2x speed, so I'm glad that my voice is clear enough for that. Man, I can't believe that. The Wens were so good, even in the end. Ugh. Damn. Turns out, racism wasn't the answer. Jinling cried out all of a sudden. Watch out! A blood-red figure had landed in front of Lan Sidgway. Also, they're like red because they're covered in blood, and like the Wen clan was red, right? MXTX, man. He brandished his sword and backed a couple steps away as the blood corpse slowly rose to its feet. The figure was smaller than the others and stood hunched over. There was a gaping hole in its skull, suggesting it had been bludgeoned to death. Is this the old lady? Oh no! Soaking in the bloody water had left its sparse white hair stuck to its forehead, and with its skin and flesh half decayed on top of that, it was a repulsive, terrifying, and uncomfortable sight to behold. After it crawled to its feet, it began to hobble toward Lan Sidgway. Fear-stricken, the juniors hurried to gather around him. Now that the living had increased in number, the bloody corpses grew wary and huffed deep within their throats. The boys tensed like they were facing a great foe, but Lan Sidgway quickly ordered them otherwise. Don't move! While he was also a little nervous, for some reason, he wasn't scared. If this skinny, bloody little corpse had eyes, it would have been staring right at him. It tilted its head and extended its hand, it slowly reaching towards Lan Sidgway, seeming to want to touch him. Its hand was filthy with blood, and it looked like a chicken foot that had been gnawed to pieces. The boys got goosebumps all over. Oh my god! Jinling brandished his sword, wanting to stop the corpse, but Lan Sidgway blurted, Jin Gongsa, don't! Then what should we do? Jinling demanded. Don't move anyone, Lan Sidgway said. The bloody corpse let out a few faint cries. After steadying himself, Lan Sidgway also slowly extended his hand towards it. Just as he was about to touch it, a new wave of corpses swarmed in. The blood corpses snapped its head around and let loose a long howl. It leapt into the air and tackled the horde, tearing and biting like it had gone mad. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. Its roar was loud and clear and horrible, its actions swift and ferocious, a complete change from the way it had been behaved. A complete change from the way it had just behaved in front of Lan Sidgway. Wen Ning hurled a number of fierce corpses to the ground. He was shaking as he shouted to the bloody corpse, Is it you? The bloody corpse ignored him. The bloody corpses tore through the fierce corpses like they had gone mad, and Wen Ning yelled to him, Is it you? Yelled to them. The demon-quelling cave was filled with shrill cries, high and low, but not a single one answered him. Not a single one could. Hardly an hour later, all the voices came to a gradual stop. Now that it was all over, the demon-quelling cave was the very image of hell as shown in paintings. The bloody corpses began to slowly move, gathering where Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji stood. They were of various heights, sexes, and ages. Each was a bloody, malicious ghost from the bowels of hell. But in those figures, Wei Wuxian saw familiar shadows. Sushu, Wen Ning murmured, Granny. Oh no! Oh my god! I can't believe Granny came back to life and kicked fucking ass. Oh. That's crazy. Also, the reveal with Lan Sidgway. Oh shit. Oh, so good. He called out to them one by one, and the more he called, the more his voice trembled. Have you been waiting here all this time? Wen Ning asked. If he'd been alive, his eyes would surely be red and welling with tears. Wei Wuxian's lips quivered. He wanted to say something, but in the end, no words were uttered. He dipped his head low and gave a solemn bow. Thank you, he croaked, his voice raspy. Lan Wangji also bowed. The group of bloody corpses had been full of ferocity when they were on their killing spree just moments ago, but as they stood face to face with Wei Wuxian, though their visages remained hideous, their actions now became almost clumsy and out of sync. Some bowed, while others raised their hands as they returned the courtesy. And then, as if something had sucked up the spirit and life from them, they collapsed in a heap. The blood-red bodies cracked like fragile porcelain wares. The fractures spiderwebbed outward, inch by inch, leaving increasingly smaller fragments. If a gust of wind blew past, nothing of them would remain. Oh my god! Vico says, bowing to the ancestors, also like in a wedding! Oh shit! Oh my god. Wen Ning threw himself to the ground to gather the bright red ashes with his hands. Grabbing handful upon handful, he stuffed them quickly into his robes until his clothing was full of ashes. At the sight of this, Lan Jingyi scratched his head and then untied one of his own perfume sachets. He dumped out the scent filling inside before crouching next to Wen Ning to hand him the bag. Here! Oh. Seeing this, the other boys all followed suit. Only Jinling didn't move. He just watched, looking at the other boys, and then Wen Ning, his expression complicated and his brow clouded by frost. He stepped farther away. As for Wen Ning, with so many perfume sachets and cloth bags being handed to him, he was suddenly at a loss for what to do. "Do you need help, Ghost General?" Lan Sizhui asked. "Oh, no, you..." Wen Ning quickly said. "There's so many bones and ashes. Can you collect everything by yourself?" Lan Jingyi chimed in. Wei Wuxian and Lamonji walked over. "Don't just start grabbing things at random," Wei Wuxian chided. "You'll get corpse poisoning if you don't wear gloves." This is so sweet. I can't believe, like, there's this book shows so many terrible injustices and stuff, and then these beautiful little moments, like helping Wen Ning pick up all the ashes and handing over your own little bags and stuff is just, it shows the kindness, you know? The boys finally abandoned the idea when they heard him. "Wei Qianbei, Heng Guanzhen, and Ghost General, thank you so much for..." Lan Sizhui started. "Thank you for what?" A cold voice came suddenly from the crowd. Lan Sizhui and the others turned their heads. The one who had spoken was Fang Mengcheng. "What the heck is this?" he demanded furiously, standing up. Lan Sizhui was confused. "What the heck is what?" Wei Wuxian and Lamonji gazed towards him. "I'm asking you, what the heck is this?" Fang Mengcheng harshly demanded. "Atonement? You cannot actually be feeling grateful to him." Dead silence filled the demon-quelling cave. Not so much as a whisper could be heard. Everyone was upset and struggling to take things in. They had come with great fanfare to launch a siege, but ultimately been the ones besieged. They had shouted at the top of their lungs that they were here to stamp out evil, but in the end, they had to rely on evil to save their own lives. They didn't know if they should call this absurd, bizarre, awkward, or baffling. All they knew was that, in this grand theater of righteous indignation, they, who had jumped up and down so furiously, hadn't been honorable in the least. Damn. Mic drop. It felt far too outrageous to tell Wei Wuxian they were grateful to his face, but he had saved them, after all, so it didn't seem appropriate to tell him they weren't grateful. Given the circumstances, the best action was apparently maintaining their silence. When no one answered him, Fang Mengcheng fumed even more, and then lunged with his sword. "Did you think making a show of repentance with a few good deeds could repay the blood debt you owe?" Wei Wuxian dodged his attack. Someone from the crowd tried to mediate. "Fang Xiong, don't get so riled up, just forget it." The moment the man said that, he immediately realized he'd misspoken. Sure enough, Fang Mengcheng's eyes flashed red. "Forget it? What do you mean forget it? Can my family's murder be forgotten just because you said so?" He continued with a booming voice. "Wei Wuxian killed my parents. That is the truth. So why does he suddenly seem to be everyone's hero? Can his actions be so easily forgotten once he's done a few good deeds? What do my parents' deaths count for then?" Within the crowd, Jinling clenched his fists. There was a sudden twinge of pain in his shoulder. It was Zheng Cheng, who was gradually tightening the fingers of the hand he had laid there. Jinling couldn't see his expression, but he called out to him in a whisper, "Jojo." Zheng Cheng let out a grim, indiscernible chuckle. Wei Wuxian spoke up. "What exactly do you want, then?" Fang Mengcheng blinked, and Wei Wuxian continued. "What do you want? You want nothing but to see me meet a miserable end, so you can satisfy your hatred. That's all." He pointed at Yi Wei-chun, who remained unconscious in the crowd. "He lost a leg. I was torn to shreds. You lost your parents, but my family's long dead. I am but a stray dog driven from my home. I never saw a single grain of my parents' ashes. Do you still hate the Wen survivors? The Wen survivors? The evil Wen survivors you all spoke of already died once, 13 years ago. And just now, right here, for my sake, for the sake of saving you, they died again. This time, they're gone for good. Poof. So please enlighten me. What more do you want?" Fang Mengcheng glared hard at him. After a while, he gritted his teeth. It's no use. Let me tell you, Wei Wuxian, no matter what you do, don't expect me to forgive you, or forget the murder of my parents. He raised his voice to shout, declaring, I never will! No one's telling you to forgive me, Wei Wuxian said. You're not the only ones who remember what I've done. I remember too. You won't forget. What makes you think I will? As they stared at each other, Fang Mengcheng felt himself grow discouraged. Mixed emotions swirled within him. Wei Wuxian and his gang had indeed saved his life, but he was reluctant to let go of his grudge for the sake of that alone. And yet, even if he wanted to seek revenge on Wei Wuxian, he lacked the power and strength to do it. In the end, he could only let out a loud yell before turning around and storming out of the demon-quelling cave. Once he was gone, someone spoke up. There won't be any more waves of corpses coming, right? Are we safe for the real this time? The crowd's heads spun at the sound of that voice. Him again? Ni Huaiseng looked around. Seeing no one answer him, he added, Then does that mean we can go now? That question was certainly the right one. No one could wait to pin wings to their backs and fly home on their swords. 4 hours must have passed now, one of the female cultivators said. How far have people's spiritual powers recovered? A number of people took out talismans to confirm whether they could ignite them with their spiritual powers. One after the other, the talismans were feebly set alight, and they called out their answers to the question that had been posed. Mine's around 20% recovered. 10% for me. It's coming back so slowly. When they'd first set out on this expedition, they'd all thought the campaign would exceed the first siege of the burial mounds that had taken place 13 years ago. They had been certain it would be a tragedy for the history books, and yet, the number of people descending the mountain would ultimately be much the same as the number who had ascended. This second siege certainly would be recorded in the history books, not because it was tragic, but rather because it was absolutely the most ridiculous, the most hilarious, and the most nonsensical campaign the cultivation world had ever conducted. Some were just thankful to have made it out alive, while others marveled at the winds of change. Several dozen clan leaders gathered together, and after a brief discussion, came to a unanimous agreement. To avoid unnecessary complications or unforeseen incidents, they would find a safe location to rally and regroup until everyone had recovered at least 80% of their power. Only then would they return to their own respective clans. It took Wei Wuxian no time at all to realize that the closest safe location to Yiling was of course the domain of the Zheng clan of Yunmeng. So you guys are planning to head to Lotus Pier? He asked. Lan Shiren was leery. Why do you ask? No reason, I'm just asking, Wei Wuxian said. Can I tag along? Wei Wuxian! Sect leader Yao exclaimed warily. You may have done a good deed today, but that's an entirely different matter. Let us be clear, it is impossible for us to associate with you. Wei Wuxian was rendered speechless. Don't you worry, no one's forcing you to associate with me, but we're technically on the same side right now, no? The big shot who plotted to murder all of you today has the Yin Tiger tally in his grasp. Think you guys can handle it? The clan leaders traded look of dismay. Truthfully, Wei Wuxian was not wrong. If he was willing to join their alliance, he would surely be a great help, but they'd all been calling for the death of the Yiling Patriarch for so many years. They couldn't suddenly or easily swallow their pride and work with him. Lan Wangji turned to Lan Shiren. Shufu, is there any news of my elder brother? No, Lan Shiren replied after a brief silence. Zewujun might still be under Jingguan Yao's control, Wei Wuxian said. Under his control? With his gorilla grip pussy? Wei Wuxian, Lan Shansheng, every bit of help counts. Even if you have your concerns about me, at least let Han Guanzhun participate in what you plan to do next. This concerns his elder brother, after all. With a weary look on his face, Lan Shiren said to Lan Wangji, Come if you must. Wow. It's like the homophobic uncle allowing you to come to Christmas. The rest of the group immediately turned their eyes to Zheng Cheng. Lan Shiren was the most distinguished elder of the 3 clans present, and he had made his stance known. Taking Ni Huaiseng's support for any side into consideration would be a waste of time, so all eyes were now on Zheng Cheng. He stood at the other end of the cavern, engaged in channeling his spiritual power anew to test Zidian. Its current was sporadic, sometimes sparking to life, sometimes dimming, but at least it wasn't completely dead. Purple light illuminated Zheng Cheng's face, making him appear cryptic and unreadable. Everyone knew that sect leader Zheng had fallen out with Wei Wuxian years ago and could hardly stand the sight of him. They thought he would put an end to the discussion, but to their surprise, Zheng Cheng only sneered. You dare return to Lotus Pier? Having tossed out that random question, he said nothing more. Everyone was baffled, unsure whether that was a yes or a no. But when the group set off and Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji joined their ranks, Zheng Cheng didn't spare them a single glance. They took that to mean he neither agreed nor disagreed. And that's the end of the chapter. Oh my god, that's perfect because I have to go. I'm like, I can't. When is the scene when Zheng Cheng like finds out? Oh my god, it must be so close. This part here of the book, I have like no memory of at all. When the blood pool thing happened, like that was a genuine like surprise for me. That was so epic. Oh my god, that was awesome. I can't believe that was so symbolic, you know? That was wicked. I loved that. Hey, Kate. Hi. And Briarbox. Briarbox, what's up? Hey, friend, for no particular reason, sending lots of love and hugs. Sometimes it's just really important to tell important people you care about them. You are cared about. Heart. Thank you. Oh my god, Briarbox, that is so sweet. That is so sweet, dude. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good day. And I'm giving you a hug back. Get in here. Get in here. There we go. I pat your back. Thank you so much, Briarbox. I care about you too. That's just so sweet of you. I love getting that message. Thank you. Much less trauma than last night, but woof. Yes, also, like, as a Zheng Cheng fan, like, seeing him care about Jinling, he's like, it's like, listen, he's not the protagonist for a reason. Like, Wei Wuxian has flaws. Zheng Cheng has many flaws, too. But that doesn't mean that I can't like him as a character for all of his flaws and stuff like that. Like, someone like him needs to be in the book. And so, with all of the trauma that Zheng Cheng has gone through, and we even saw this with Wei Wuxian, like, Zheng Cheng is willing to have others be harmed and not help others if it means protecting his family, right? And you can understand where he gets that thought from because his family is so important to him. And it's like, it's fucked up. Like, it doesn't make him like a good guy. Like, he's not a hero, but it's like so delicious to me when like the really, really angry guy, it's like, oh, why is he so selfish? He's protecting his family. Like, that's just sad. Like, it's so sad. Like, you know, under better circumstances, he could have been more of a hero, but literally because of his trauma, it's made him like this way. And it's just fun as like a character thing, not in like a real life thing, you know. Oh, Briarbox, you're so sweet, and I just really appreciate how genuine you are as a person, and I feel the same way. Thank you so much for, you know, a thing I like to always be reminded of is don't hesitate to be nice, because lots of people don't hesitate to be mean. And that's not like exactly what you're saying or anything, but I really, really love that. Anytime, I just appreciate that so much. So thank you. It's a very empathetic situation, and he's like Water Master in that respect. Yeah, exactly. And that's funny because I don't really like Shiwudu as much, but I think that's because we just don't spend enough time with him. Like, I think if in TGCF we got a lot more time with Shiwudu and like to understand and see how much he loved Shi Qingxuan, maybe I would like him a little more. But I feel like he's just not in the book as much. Like, if Shiwudu was Shelian's brother somehow, you know? It would be interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, that's why Zheng Cheng's in this book. Yeah. But that was a really fun reading. That was really good. That was exciting. That was super exciting. Kate says, I read a fic and now I love Shiwudu. That's how it goes, hey? Okay, I'm trying out a new little hockey league thing tonight, so I'm excited. Oh, also, I scored last game for Yanli's sake. You guys said to score for Yanli, and I did, and I scored and we won. So, yes, Yanli's spirit was among us. Okay, tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow, think I can stream tomorrow, but I will probably do the same. I'll make a post in the members area tomorrow to confirm the time. I can never remember what I'm doing, but yes. Okay. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I love you guys, and I will see you most likely tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye.